So today's lesson will be part two of a personal narrative. We will go to page 169, and as you can see, this essay or narrative was written by a high school student named Rich Rosario. He titled his narrative, "Facing My Fear, Riding the River." A rafting trip through the Grand Canyon for a week? Really? I said, a grin pasted on my face. That's a great idea, Dad. I felt a knot forming in my stomach. All right, you can see here he opens with an intriguing introduction that focuses on a clearly defined experience. This essay has a conversational tone. You can see he starts out with dialogue. My two brothers high-fived each other. This is going to be awesome, they hollered. My mother grinned her approval. Again, he uses dialogue and gestures. You can imagine the two other brothers jumping up, high-fiving each other. This helps to develop characters. I'm not the best athlete at Franklin High, but I work hard and I enjoy competition. However, I used to avoid rafting, sailing, kayaking, and similar sports. Here's why. When I was 10, I climbed a railing, slipped, and fell in the Dungeness River. My uncle jumped in immediately and fished me out. I came up coughing and sputtering, with a brand new fear of drowning. Rushing, churning water filled my nightmares. Here you can see that his voice reflects the writer's personality and style. He uses varied sentences, creating a pleasing rhythm. In other words, when you're writing, you need to vary your sentences, some long, some shorter, some medium, okay? The night my father told us about the vacation, I looked through the expedition catalog from Western Adventures, and my worst fears were confirmed. On the cover was a photograph of a huge orange raft vanishing into a giant rapid. The vacationers clung to the sides, tiny and powerless. Now, I'm an okay swimmer, but as I looked at the catalog, I wondered why anyone, even a champion swimmer, would want to go whitewater rafting. Does anyone really think that the guides can control everything that happens during the journey? I asked myself. Here he uses relevant details to explain the experience that he has. He describes his thoughts and feelings. The question is an example of interior monologue, words that the writer says to himself or herself. I didn't say anything, of course, and in August we headed off for our adventure in Arizona. We joined our raft mates, 4 other families, at the point where the Colorado slices its way through the canyon. If you fall in, relax and go with the flow, one of the lean, sunburned tour guides said. We'll pull you out, he added. Page 170. As our raft drifted down the river, the knot in my stomach grew larger and tighter. I could feel every bump and sway, and I could hear the whoosh of the river all around me. Within a few minutes, the whooshing sound began to seem more like a thunderstorm. Our guides ordered us to grab the ropes and brace ourselves. The sound ahead resembled the roar of a jet engine. My heart thudded in my chest. Here he recreates the experience for you, the reader, with vivid sensory details. Describing the knot in his stomach is more effective than writing, I was scared. You cannot write sentences like I was scared. That sounds very boring. If you need to, take a thesaurus and look up the word scared, and it will give you better words to use in place of scared. Up ahead, the waters of the Colorado appeared to be boiling, bubbling up into the air and crashing back down. In the center was a trough that looked to be 30 or 40 yards long, and we were headed right for it. I held on to the ropes until my fingers felt raw. The raft held 20 people, but the raging river tossed it around like a rubber toy in a bathtub. We flew up out of the water and crashed back down. The front of the raft was submerged in icy water. There was no doubt in my mind I was going to drown. Here he uses precise nouns such as trough, verbs such as flew and crashed, and modifiers such as raw and raging. This enables the reader to picture what is being described. Lines 40, he includes words and phrases throughout the essay that signal the order in which the events occurred. Remember, your narrative must be in order. Line 40. Seconds later, the front of the raft shot out of the water like a cannonball, and then suddenly, it was all over. We had made it. The rafters erupted in wild shouts, all of us laughing about how we were soaking wet and what a thrill the ride had been. The knot in my stomach eased a bit. We encountered many more rapids in the next 5 days, but my fear was never again as knife sharp. During the vacation, I faced my worst fear, not just once, but dozens of times. I learned that worrying about an experience can be worse than the experience itself. I realized that I am tougher than I thought. I found out that it's all right to express fear, even to scream if I need to. By the end of the week, I had a real smile on my face, not a pasted-on grin, and the knot in my stomach was long gone. Here in the last paragraph, he concludes with a strong paragraph that summarizes the significance of the experience. In other words, how important this experience was to him. By using some of the same details as in the introduction, the writer gives his essay unity and coherence. Remember, your last paragraph should connect in a way with your introduction paragraph, your first paragraph, okay? All right, that concludes today's lesson. You need to go back again and reread pages 168 through 170 and make sure you read the comments in the sidebar so you will understand exactly how you're supposed to write your narrative. Also, make sure you read the weekly plan so you will know what to do on a daily basis.